So, hello everyone. Today I want to discuss one essay. Nothing is absolute. Subjectivity applies everywhere. As you can see, this is again a very philosophical essay. And philosophical essay are easier to deal with if you can gather good examples, good concepts from various subjects that you have already read, like history, polity. Okay. So let's see how we can approach it. I will use the same method of synthesis. Okay, thesis, antithesis, and synthesis. Okay. But let's divide it today as like intro, body, and conclusion also, so that you guys can actually understand how to actually approach a essay. So I'm going to the rough page. Okay. So intro. Okay. I will leave it. First, I will think about the thesis. What is the thesis? It is saying nothing is absolute. What is the philosophical? Because this is a philosophical essay. The first thing, what is the philosophical basis? Why it is saying nothing is absolute? So in ethics only, you have read something about moral relativism. Relativism, right? This essay is about moral relativism. That morality is very relative. Like in one culture, something will be considered very bad, and at the same, in a different culture, in a different context, same thing will not be considered very bad. Like for example, for a Jain in India, eating meat is immoral, but for a Muslim in India, eating meat is not that moral question, right? So that is the thing, that morality might differ from cultures, different regions, okay, different advancement in societies. So that is one philosophical basis, that is a moral relativism. Okay. And in support, what other example can I think of? There are different philosophical schools. Okay, let's see what are the philosophical schools. Okay, one is your Indian schools and then your Western schools. In Indian schools, if you see, you have diversity, like subjectivity. No absolute theories there. Like even in Orthodox schools, you have debate of Dvait versus Advait. Okay, and even within Dvait or Advait, like if I take Advait, you have Vishisht Advait. You have, okay, like you have Ramanujam's giving you the idea of Vishisht Advaita. Okay, Kannada saying something else, Shankaracharya saying something else, Madhvacharya talking about Dvait. So there are different idea of reality, right? So how we approach religion, how we approach God, how we approach the reality is very you can say subjective. Like in India only I'm talking about Dvaita Advaita again. In heterodox sect, let's say Jainism, you have the concept of Anekantavada. That reality, there is no absolute, there is a truth can be approached from various directions. Various perspectives are there. So it is also talking about subjectivity. Subjectivity, Sayadvada, Anekvada. So you can quote this also, right? Or you can talk about Jainism versus Buddhism. They both talk about liberation, but they both teach different things. One teaches you Madhyam Marga, one teaches the extreme penance, right? So from this, you can say in Indian philosophy only, there is so much diversity, so much subjectivity, right? Similarly, in Western thought, you have concept of that everything that I'm teaching is part of syllabus. Utilitarian versus deontology, that is outcome based versus duty based ethics versus virtue ethics is also there. So you can see there is, you can talk about in the philosophical basis. For my thesis statement, I can talk about moral relativism. I can talk about different philosophical schools in India. I can talk about, especially you should talk about Anekantavada. This is very relevant for this topic because it itself talk about subjectivity. In Western thought, you can talk about utilitarian, deontology, right? That is, there is no absolute definition of morality or ethics. No absolute definition of ethics, which brings to subjectivity, right? One action which, like if I say lying is bad, but lying to save someone's life will become a good deed, right? So this is the philosophical basis of the argument, but this is only one of the dimensions. This should not be your complete essay. I told you, always connect it to your personal, like politics. As many examples you can connect it to, as many dimensions you can connect it to. Okay. Now let's come to other dimensions. Let's come to history. How we perceive history differ for different people, right? How we perceive history differ for different peoples. Like for example, this you must have read it in your history book, the 1857 revolution or the revolt that happened in India. It is called First War of Independence by Savarkar, right? While it is called a Sepoy mutiny, just a mere Sepoy mutiny by British scholars, like Cambridge School, by British historians, or for some it was a backward looking, okay, feudal revolt. Okay, so their incident is only one, 1857 revolt, but there are different interpretations of the same event, which shows that nothing is absolute, everything is relative. Okay, now let's come to politics. Okay, in politics you have no absolute system of governance. Okay, even if I take the idea of democracy, you have presidential versus presidential system versus the parliamentary system, and even within parliamentary system you have very differences. Like compare India with Britain, compare India with Australia, you will have so many differences, so much diversity, right? Because every country is ruled by the subjectivity or the need of its own society. Because of India diversity, we are not completely federal, we are quasi federal, right? So all these ideas you can talk about, right? Let me give you another idea in politics. In general, we consider that dictatorship is bad, right? Dictatorship or authoritarian rule is bad. But have you heard about Lee Kuan Yew, the dictator of now you can say the father of Singapore? Okay, he was a very authoritarian ruler, but under his tenure, Singapore, which was a very poor country, became such a advanced country, right? So can you say that dictatorship is bad? He's called the good dictator. Like similarly, in today's world, we say there is no place for monarchy. No place for monarchy, but UK is still a monarchy, right? Leave UK. Bhutan, people of Bhutan love their king. People of Bhutan love their king. Okay, he is considered very benevolent, very compassionate ruler. Like for example, on his birthday, he urged people to adopt stray dogs. Like so they love their king. So similarly, nothing is absolute. No political idea is absolute in itself. If you take democracy, democracy has so much diversity depending on its need. So you can say that nothing is absolute. Democracy is not good everywhere. Right. Now come to economy. You have capitalist versus socialist forces. Capitalism versus socialism. Some say capitalism is a better economic system. Some say no, socialism is a better economic system. Okay. So again here there is no absolute, nothing, no absolute system. Okay, everything is subjective. Some countries have done well under capitalism, some countries have done well under socialism also. Like China, though it has shifted a lot, largely social capitalist economy, but it is a communist country, right? So that is there. Okay, in society also, you have in India only, you mostly see patriarchy, patrilocation, you know. But in many tribes, in let's say Khasi Hills, in Kerala, in many places in Kerala, you will see matriarchy, people taking their mother's name. Okay, mother being the head of the house. You will see matrilocation also in many tribes, right? So that kind of things are there. So there is lot of diversity, lots and lots of diversity in India, and that's why nothing like no absolute judgment can be passed about India, right? Be it in terms of geography, be it in terms of society, be it in terms of religion. Okay, so you can give many examples from society itself. Economy, I gave you example, right? Politics, I gave you examples. You can think of more examples, right? So subjectivity, absolute things are not there. Okay, there are a lot of subjectivity, and this is my thesis statement, right? I told this is my support statement, thesis. Okay. Now, what will I take intro the best thesis statement among these? I can pick it and put it in the intro. So I can start with Anekantavada, or I can start with the story of blind men. Okay, and touching an elephant. So there's a story about truth that the elephant is the truth, but when a blind man touches his tail, it thinks, oh, it's a broom. When he touches his legs, oh, it's other blind man touches like, no, it's not a broom, it's a pillar, right? Someone touches something, it's a rope. So because we cannot see the complete truth, so we perceive it differently. Different people perceive it differently. Subjectivity can be there. Okay, subjectivity can be there. Okay, like in administration, we talk about no one size fits approach, because every region is different, so they should be approached differently. The same system which worked in Kerala might not work in Bihar, because the conditions in Kerala and conditions in Bihar are very, very different. Right? The same thing that are applicable in America might not apply in India, because society in America and society in India are very, very different. Okay, so that is there. So you can quote hundreds of examples and you can build your argument around it. So this is my thesis statement. Okay, intro I told about the you can give any intro. You can talk about Anekantavada in the intro, so that will also make it a very good intro. Okay, you can talk about the War of Independence also, and how different people perceive it differently. That can again make a very good intro. So any strong argument that you have in your body, you can use it as your intro, and you use other arguments in your body. Okay, intro should always be impactful. That is very important. Intro and conclusion should always be impactful. Now, this was the thesis. Like thesis, I gave you idea of history, philosophical basis. I already gave you. Lot of philosophical things are there. Okay, Indian, Western, everything I have quoted. Then history, politics, society. Okay, legal system. You can also quote that. Why in legal system? Why there is a division? Why there is a state list? Okay, to accommodate the diversities. Right, to accommodate diversity. Why there are 6 schedule, 5 schedule areas? To accommodate diversity, to apply subjectivity. Right, that is there. Now, let's think of the antithesis. A little difficult to write in this antithesis, because subjectivity is a very well accepted thing. But can there be absolute things? Can absolute truth be there? Okay. Can something be absolute? Yes. Scientific, mathematical ideas, many scientific and mathematical ideas are objective in nature. Like, they are not subjective. It's not like gravity exists for me and it doesn't exist for you. Earth is flat. That's a fact. That's an absolute fact. Right? It will not change. So scientific and mathematical ideas, they are objective in nature. They are not subjective. So not everything is. So I'm. Quote was nothing is absolute. No, I'm saying there are some ideas. There are some concepts which are absolute. Right? That can be there. Similarly, in morality or in ethics, we talk about universal values. Universal values like love, summum bonum, that is welfare of all, good for all. That is there. That is kind of absolute thing. If you're talking about if something is universal, it means it is absolute. Universal values. That is there. Come to politics. Come to politics. There is a general acceptance of social contract. Social contract might differ. Okay. But there is a general acceptance of social contract. The rule is by social contract. Right. The general acceptance of that the state should be a welfare state. These are pretty much universal in India or in the world. Right. So there are many political ideas which are pretty much absolute in nature. Okay, or becoming absolute. If you want to play safe, you can say they are becoming more and more absolute. Like more and more countries are adopting democracy. Democracy has proved itself to be a very good enabler of growth. Okay, protection of rights. All these things you can talk about. Okay, similarly, in economy, if I talk about poverty is bad, that's a general acceptance thing. There is nothing like no subjectivity in it. Like poverty is bad, that is kind of absolute thing. So you can give many ideas, although the antithesis is not that much important also in this. Okay, no, it is important, but if it should not have a lot of space. So like I told, most of the space will be your thesis statement. It's 70%. Antithesis is mostly 10% of your essay. Okay, unless or until you have a very strong argument. Okay, now what is the synthesis? Okay. So synthesis, I agree with it, is it that nothing is absolute? Nothing is absolute. And then diversity is there and it must be cherished. Okay, and we should have tolerance. Okay, benevolence, all these things. Okay, our action must be based on rationality. All these things you can talk about. You can give a way forward. What is your way forward in it? What is your way forward? Okay, that because things are subjective, so there can be disagreements. Disagreements are fine, but disagreement should not be equated to disrespect. And these differences must be tolerated and must be cherished. Okay, must be cherished. Like we should follow teachings of Buddha, Bhakti movement. You can quote many things. You can give many ideas. Okay, and you can give in support of democracy and everything. And you can write a way forward. And that would be like a good way to end this essay. Okay, so that is this essay from my side. Nothing is absolute. Subjectivity applies everywhere. Okay, so if time permits, I will take some live sessions with you guys, where I will we will discuss few essays and what kind of intro should we write, what kind of conclusion should we write. Because in these 2-3 videos that I have uploaded, I have only given a rough sketch of the essay. What can you talk about? This is very scattered. So let if possible, I will take some organized classes, like class on how to write intros, how to write conclusions, how to divide your body, how to like in essay there is something called a linking statement. Okay, linking statement. What is a linking statement? That let's say I'm writing out politics in one paragraph. So there should not be a sudden jump from politics to economy, because that will not look good while when a person reads it. So there in the end of the paragraph, there should be some linking statement which gives a cue that, okay, economy is coming. Okay, these are called the linking statement. So how to write linking statements? Okay, now I gave you lots of ideas, but idea or examples. Okay, but you cannot just write examples and that's it, because this is an essay. In essay, expressions matter a lot. That is, how you write a sentence matters a lot. Okay, so how to write it? Okay, then there are many questions. To you to use subheadings or not? Like many people use subheadings, many people don't use subheadings. Both are fine. So whether to use subheadings or not, and if someone is using subheadings, then what kind of subheading should be used? So subheading should not be like a way forward. It should give something, good, interesting. Subheading should be interesting. Okay, so that should be there. Let's say I have to talk about rural-urban divide. So I will not write rural-urban divide in an essay. Okay. So let's say I have to talk about the rural issues of rural India. I will not like issues of rural India. Better to use something like misgivings of Bharat, or Bharat versus India. That still better than just writing a direct subheading. Okay. So that is one thing. So to use subheadings or not. Then to write thesis questions or not. Thesis statement. Not the thesis like I thesis thing. Thesis statement is something that after intro, in the essay itself, you write a paragraph where you give the reader an idea what you are going to talk about. Like you will write, in this essay, we will talk about women empowerment and what are the problems that this new age women are facing. Okay, and we will also talk about the remedial steps that can be taken to improve the condition of women in society. These kind of questions, like this kind of paragraph is called a thesis statement or the thesis questions. Okay, some people write it, some people don't write it. It's your choice. Okay, but is it important to write? Like for example, usually I don't write thesis statement, but in this year in one of the essay, I felt the need to write this thesis statement because I needed to clear my stand. So that kind of things is there. Okay. Then the third thing is about quotes. Are writing quotes compulsory? It's not compulsory. If you remember a quote, it should be written. If you don't remember a quote and you don't have any good quote, don't write it. It's okay. Okay. But writing quote, ending something with a very strong quote can help you. Okay. Can help you. So that's there. So hundreds of things are there. Can we draw diagrams? Usually diagrams are not drawn. Okay. Diagrams, maps, etc. are not drawn in essays. The most, like, my interaction with toppers, with my friends has been that diagram might be a tricky thing. It might work for you and it can backfire also. Okay, but I have seen essays of Shrishti Deshmukh. She used to draw essays in her. She used to draw diagrams in her essays. So that is there. So that can be a tricky thing. Okay, like one of the student asked me, should we underline or not? Okay, should we underline or not? Obviously, you should underline. It doesn't matter if it's an essay or it's an answer. You need to highlight what is important for you. You should use block letters. If you are writing something very important that you think the checker must see at any cost, use block letters. Like you are writing I am, okay, okay, I am, and then you can write, use block letters, that I am Brahma. Okay. So like this, so you can use block letters for a whole sentence to highlight. You can use underlining also along with it. You can write it in a box. That is also there. Everything is allowed. It should look good. It should look clean. That's the only requirement. So all these things I will try to discuss in like live sessions. Okay. So have a good day.